Hey everyone, welcome to Fernglade Farm. This is the early summer update, and one of the exciting things we've done here recently is we've picked up a colony of bees, and you can see here there's a single brood box, and you can see a bee just went in, there's no one flying in. And in the next couple of weeks we'll add a second brood box and then a honey super on top. So it should be pretty exciting, and we're using all this honey to preserve our fruit and also to produce mead, so it's pretty exciting stuff. Mead is actually really worthwhile. It's actually a fantastic drink, and I recommend everyone to give it a bash. You wouldn't know it, but I've actually mowed about 3 weeks ago here, and all of the herbage has actually grown up again. And just in front of us here is a rokewood apple, and you can see a couple of apples hanging off the side of it. The apples have done exceptionally well this year, especially given how young they are. But the Asian pears are actually the ones that have really gone gangbusters. The native animals haven't even kept up cropping the herbage, and here you can see we've got a patch of vetch with some seed pods that they'll go to seed and they'll self-seed, and they'll pop up again next year. Some of the older trees here are Asian pears, and a lot of them are nashi pears, and they're fantastic. And they've fruited so well this year. They've absolutely loved the conditions. It's been a very dry spring, but there's an awful lot of groundwater. As you can see, the ground herbage is still actually quite green. If you can look at this tree, it's about 4.5 metres, and you can see there are literally hundreds of fruit all over it. Probably should thin it, but I don't mind smaller nashis. It doesn't bother me that much. You can see it's got a little friend next to it, and it's another nashi pear. And we've got about 4 or 5 different varieties of nashis. They're fantastic fruit. I really love them. Peaches have actually done very well here. Far better than the nectarines, and I can't explain that. This is about a 3-year-old. It's a peach. It's a golden queen. And we've got quite a lot of varieties of peaches here. And they just seem to do a lot better than the nectarines. And this one here has actually had its head ripped off by a wallaby, and you can see a bit of the damage at the top. But it still fruits very well. Curly leaf was a bit of a problem earlier on in the season, but those leaves have since mostly dropped off, and new leaves have replaced them. This is a bit of a calling card from a local wallaby. They come in at night and they rip off some of the lower branches. They actually effectively do a good pruning job, but it creates an upward growing tree. So it'll be interesting to see how that works out in the future. The citrus is growing exceptionally well in the heat. We had a 40-degree day the other day, and most of the fruit trees didn't skip a beat. It's actually me that has the most trouble with those sort of days. You can see there's a fair bit of fruit on that. We've already pulled off about well over 100 lemons in the last couple of weeks, and most of those get converted to lemon cordial. You can see the other smaller citrus. The small citrus are mandarins, and just in front of me is a Australian round lime. A lot of flowers. You can actually smell the citrus in the air. And the bees love it. These plants are actually covered with bees during the day. It's actually early evening now, so not much bee activity is going on, which is a good thing. Kiwi fruit's growing very well. It's one of the good creepers here. And you can see it's also entangled in a passion fruit. Both of them fruit pretty well. And you can see this kiwi fruit's growing to or reaching to the sky. Kiwi fruit need male and female pollinators, and I've got 2 females here and 1 male in the middle. And you can see I've built a custom structure, and the kiwi fruit will probably grow along the chains. This is my strawberry beds, and there's over 200 strawberry plants in here. A couple of weeks back, the wombat got in and ate most of the plants. It actually did us a bit of a favour because it cropped the tops of the plants, which actually they needed a bit of pruning anyway. But we ate our first ripe strawberry today. This netting actually effectively keeps out the birds and the wombat, and also the dogs. They also love strawberries. In early summer, well, at this time of the year, there are more veggies than I can actually eat here, and a lot of them are doing exceptionally well. Most of them are actually starting to go to flower though, so I'll have to start pulling some of those out. They don't go to waste if they can be replanted in lower down, where they can happily go to seed and reproduce down there. I'm more than happy with that, and we've tried that quite a few times and it works very well. Others end up in the chook bed, and the chooks make short work of them. I have 2 beds of tomatoes. They're all heritage varieties, cherries, and there's over about 50 plants in these beds. And you can see the first one just in the bottom left hand corner here, and that won't fruit, and the fruit won't be ripe until about March. But between the 2 beds I'll get about 50 kilos of tomatoes. Brassicas are a bit of a nightmare to grow here over summer. Usually they grow fine all winter. Like I'll have kale. This is a kale here, this moth-eaten thing, and it's actually eaten by cabbage moths, and they're little white moths that fly around, and there are just so many. Unless you cage the whole area, they'll win. But we actually win at the end of the day, because their progeny, the little green caterpillars, end up being chook food. So I just every couple of days I'll just go through and pull off all of the green caterpillars off the leaves and feed them to the chooks. And you can see one just here. The raised herb beds are doing exceptionally well too. A lot of the herbs have actually regained their potency and flavour over summer. Some of them don't die back over winter, some of them do, but it's quite amazing when they do die back over winter. Generally they pop straight back out of the ground again come spring. You can see just in the centre of the frame here there's a couple of valerian going to flower. And we just pan across and you can see quite a few of the herbs are taking off. The big flowers are actually gem and chamomile, and just in the middle is a feverfew. There's a soapwort just in the front. There's quite a few other ones. I moved all of my berries to because there was just so much predation by the local wildlife, and here is a gooseberry which is in its first year in this particular location. It's probably about a 2-year-old gooseberry. You can see some of the berries on it. They're looking quite nice, and there's still quite a lot ripening in there, so they probably won't be ready for another month or 2. Speaking of berries, we've also got currants here, and the currants are coming very close to being ripened. You can see the view in the background. It's quite cloudy, and it's been a very cloudy spring here, which is good because it reduces the level of heat, which reduces evaporation. This is another currant there, and that's been eaten by, the top of that got eaten by a wallaby. And we've got some blueberries just over here. The blackberries in the hugelkultur beds are actually starting to produce now. You can see a couple of flowers here, and there's also some fruit starting to ripen, so I'm really looking forward to getting some blackberries. They're great for jam. One of the exciting things about living in a forest is that trees fall over. And this one almost took out my shed, which would have been a real nightmare because it has part of my power system in it. But fortunately it went in the other direction, which is downhill. So we now cut this up and it becomes firewood. Part of the work at this time of year involves cutting up firewood for future seasons. Most of this timber is required to be seasoned for a year or 2. And basically season means just leaving it sit around, and hopefully the gums and the sugars that are in the trees actually are released from the trees, and a lot of the water content is reduced. And we cut these into saw log lengths, and they'll just sit here for the summer, and then next winter I'll cut them into firewood lengths and stack them properly, and then they'll probably be used about 12 months after that. So you have to really plan ahead when you rely on firewood for heating and cooking. Cottage garden has just gone feral. I'm actually going to have to thin out some of the plants here. In this bed there are actually quite a few herbs as well as vegetables, and also quite a lot of flowers, and they're great for the bees. It's a good source of food all year round for them. Summer's a difficult time, and spring is a difficult time for chooks. Some of them actually go broody, like this little silky. She's quite hopeless because you can see there's a couple of eggs sitting to the side her, and she's not actually sitting on her. And she's got a little friend in crime, a little Plymouth Rock, just sitting there looking at me, glaring, daring me to pull her out and throw her out into the food forest, which I might do. Cheers everyone, thanks for watching.